Morning viewers and welcome to another Onside SA soccer show. Paul is unfortunately in Madrid, hoping his Tottenham Hotspur can upset Liverpool. But our first kick-off is to congratulate the Newcastle United football team on maintaining their PSL league status. To Eric Tinkler, Quinton Jetu and the team, well done boys. We're now going to go across to our UK correspondent in our London studio, Stevie Brahm. Steve? Are you there?
Good. I'm here, Budge. Good morning to you.
Yeah, Steve. Steve, the Europa League last night, how did you see it?
Well, I mean, to be fair, the first half I thought was fairly dire.
Yeah.
It really was. It was the whole everything. I mean, the half-empty stadium. They just looked lacklustre to begin with. Arsenal sort of flattered to deceive. Had they have won that penalty, I mean, at first viewing, you thought it was. Having seen a couple of replays now, it's touch and go. But I think that seemed to sort of change the balance of the game. And Chelsea just in the second half, I mean, they just stepped up a gear, and Arsenal were no match for them. And in the end, it was that sort of 16 minutes, those 3 goals that killed the game.
Yeah, if you can't defend, what Socrates was doing for the goal, you know where Higuain was going. And once they scored, a question, Steve, why do you think they played Petr Cech? With Champions League spot available, surely they should have played the German.
Well, I think they obviously felt that having played him in all of the games, it's not dissimilar to Watford in the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
Obviously playing sort of Gomez, I guess it's a bit of loyalty. It was his last ever game, Czech. But you're right. Would it have made a lot of difference if Bert Leno was in goal? I don't know. I think it's not so much the goalkeeper. I think it's the back four in front of him. Yeah. And yet again, Arsenal's back four have been found wanting. And I think that is a wake-up call for them, that their defence hasn't been good enough in the last couple of seasons, which is why they've not got Champions League football.
Yeah, they're not alone. Man United's back four has also been shocking. Now, Steve, one Englishman started. I think it was Maitland-Niles.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Chelsea had no English in them. It's the first time a team has not had any of their own nations players starting since Inter Milan, sort of 20 plus years ago. I guess that's just the sign of the times. I think had Ruben Loftus-Cheek been fit, he may have started.
Yeah,
it's a possibility. So, but it's interesting because next season, if Chelsea do not take the appeal to the Court of Arbitration and they are under a transfer embargo, you might find that you have got the Ruben Loftus-Cheeks back in the team, Callum Hudson-Odoi when he's fit, and maybe players like Tammy Abraham. So you could be that Chelsea could start with a few English players at some point in the season.
Yeah. Talking to Chelsea, what's the latest on Hazard and Sarri?
Well, I mean, I think I got the impression that last night was a swan song for Hazard. That was his goodbye. I mean, he's had a wonderful season. I mean, I think had it not been for him, Chelsea could easily have not made the top 3. I mean, he's had an exceptional season, and you think he's been there 7 years. I think he doesn't owe the club anything now. Yeah. They're poised to make a lot of money, even though he's got 1 year left on his contract. And I think, why not? I think he wants a challenge. This is his last big move, really. He's 28. This is it for the next 3 or 4 years. Yeah. And I think let's face it, if he isn't going to go to anyone smaller than Chelsea, and Real Madrid is a step up in, I guess, of size of club. And they I think, to be fair to him, he was loyal last year. He could have gone to Real. I know Real were after him, but they didn't push quite as hard. This year, they've made it very clear they want him. So I would be very surprised if an announcement isn't made soon.
Yeah, I think he's earned the right to go to Real Madrid, Steve. Now, sorry, what is...
This is all. I mean, again, yesterday the English papers were full of discord in the group. Sarri, storming off the training pitch, and there he is last night celebrating with the team. And actually, if at the beginning of the season, after where they were, somebody would have said they're going to actually guarantee a Champions League place and win a trophy, I think most people would have said, well, that's not a bad first season for him. So, we've been talking about him leaving for months, yet he's still there. There seem to be a lot of mixed messages. I think it ultimately depends whether he really wants to stay there. And, the club feel that if there is a transfer embargo, they might not get another big-name manager for a year or so. So, he hasn't done. In the end, he didn't do badly, even though they had their wobbles. But again, he had the luxury of Eden Hazard, so next year could be different.
Yeah. So would you suggest, if you were sorry, would you take the Juventus job?
Well, look, I think if he was, I guess for him, if he wanted to go back to Italy, there is no bigger job in club football there. So, a lot of pressure. I think Allegri has set the bar, hasn't he, with winning the league many years in a row. Whether Sarri could go there and actually keep that run going and actually take them one step further in the Champions League remains to be seen. But I think he might feel that he hasn't fulfilled his potential here even. So, but I can't see. I mean, third in the league, I can't see him finishing above Liverpool or Man City in the next couple of years. So, whether he feels he's done what he can do, but if he does leave, he'll leave on a high.
Yeah, I agree. You spoke about Tammy Abraham earlier. I see Aston Villa got back to the Premier League. We never had the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I did call it, and only because I just felt that Villa were the team in form, and they played. In fact, they started very brightly, and I thought that as the game was wearing on in the first half, maybe they'd missed an opportunity. But actually, they scored just before half time, and then in the beginning of the second half, again they stepped up the pace a bit. I thought Frank Lampard probably got it wrong a bit. They really didn't have the pace. They had Huddleston in the middle, was just too slow, and they finally did bring a couple of more forwards on, and it was a little bit too late. I think Derby's problem now is, probably two of the best players won't be there next year, I suspect, and that'll be Mason Mount, who will probably go back to Chelsea, and Harry Wilson, who Liverpool were talking about either bringing him back or selling him. And I don't think, and Derby certainly couldn't afford him. So Villa had to go up. They've spent money and they've bought, but I think what they did is they brought some very good loan players in. Tyrone Mings was exceptional at the back, and it makes you wonder why Bournemouth haven't wanted to keep him, and maybe they will and bring him back into their side for next season. A lot of questions were asked of Tammy Abraham: will he stay or go to Villa? But I think the truth is, if he had the option to be a starter for Chelsea, that's his club, and I think that he really would want to. Make his mark in the Premier League with Chelsea. He's had 3 years out on loan, but I think the sort of player he is, I think he's ready. If you look at some of the players they've had, like Morata, and I think Abraham, is far better player and will score goals. So it'd be interesting to see. I think a lot will depend on whether Chelsea are going to be forced under the transfer embargo to have to use their resources. So there'll be a few of their loan players they will call back and keep.
Yeah. Can you see Villa staying up?
I think it really depends. I mean, they've actually got, if you look at their team, they've got a lot of players on loan and a lot of players out of contract. So, but looking at the new owners, looking at their CEO who used to be at Liverpool some years ago, they've got some sensible guys running the club. They've got a bit of financial backing. I think that I guess they just have to look at what Fulham did and not make the same mistakes and bring the right players in. But again, it's never easy for a team coming up because they have to attract the right type of player.
Yeah. Well, I hope they do stay up. They're a big club in Villa Park. I've been there a couple of times. It's a great stadium.
I think they've got every opportunity of staying up, and I would. Certainly, if you look at the teams that have gone up, I think Villa have probably got the potential to stay up more than either Norwich or Sheffield United.
Yeah. Talking of great stadiums, St James's Park, Steve, what's the latest with the takeover at Newcastle?
Well, the press seem to be saying that it could be a done deal. There's no question Mike Ashley wants to sell. He's been touting the club around for about 18 months or so. He came close a year or so ago for about 300 million. The rumoured amount this time is 350 million. Sheikh Khaled, he's a member of the Abu Dhabi royal family, cousin, I believe, of Sheikh Mansour, who owns Man City. So there's credibility there. But I guess ultimately, Mike Ashley he's a hard-nosed businessman, and the bottom line is, pay the money and the club's yours. So until they do that, nothing signed. I mean, they were rumoured to be looking at trying to buy Liverpool a couple of years ago. I don't think that was going to happen, but at the time they were talking about $2 billion. Well, I'm not sure John Henry wanted to sell, and I think Liverpool fans are probably very happy at the moment with the way things are going. So, yeah, I think he will sell Mike Ashley for the right amount. He's not popular, and I guess ultimately there comes a time when he's being abused on a match by match basis. I was at Fulham when Newcastle came in the last match of the season. The Newcastle fans were singing about him leaving the club. So even though he put a little bit of money into it in January to sort of keep Benitez sweet, the fans, as you say, it's a huge stadium. They've not won anything for over 50 years. I think they came very close under the Keegan era, but I think they want success, and if someone's prepared to come in and put some money in, then good luck to them.
Yeah, I think Rafa Benitez deserves a break. Now, talking about breaks, will the Man United fans get one with Romelu Lukaku going to Inter Milan?
Yeah, again, he's one of these players that he just flatters to deceive. I mean, he scores goals against teams with weak defences, but he never seems to do it against the big teams. I think if United are going to, as we know, need to have a bit of a clear out. Obviously, their big problem is not so much. I guess they could lose a few players, although some of them are on huge wages and may have to subsidise them. But it's bringing the right quality in because they can't offer Champions League football. But the United are a huge club, and they just need to get the mix of the team right and not chase these big money players and put on huge wages and think that just because they were a big name wherever they were before that they're going to do it. They just need to build a team, I think, this season.
Yeah, no, I agree. We just got to try and get rid of the salary. We've got Sanchez as the first guy I would look to get rid of, but offloading him.
Yeah, I mean, and Sanchez, the whole Pogba situation is, you don't really know whether he's going to stay, he's going to go. I think what we find at the moment, obviously the transfer window is open here, is that you always get a flurry of activity, but unfortunately a lot of these big moves don't happen early because you need one of the big moves to happen and then it has a bit of a domino effect.
Yeah, correct.
All we know is that it closes on the 8th of August in the UK, so at least the business has to be done early.
All right, Steve. Now the big one, Champions League final. Do you give Tottenham a chance?
Yeah, look, I think the truth is, look, when you look at it, my head says, look, Liverpool finished way above them. They did the double over them. But when you look at the way Tottenham, and you actually analyse Tottenham's Champions League run this season, I mean, they should have gone out of the group stage. Yet they came through. Yeah. They beat Dortmund. And nobody expected it. They beat Man City. Nobody expected it. And then certainly nobody expected them to come from behind against Ajax. So I think they've confounded all the critics. I just hope they haven't. It would be a shame if they sort of completely run out of steam and don't show up at the final. I mean, we really want, I think the way that Liverpool came to the final and the way Tottenham got to the final, you want it to be a classic now. Yeah. So, you really hope it's an open game with goals. It's a hard to call. And someone like Harry Kane, my understanding is he could well start. Hasn't played for a couple of months. He could turn up and score. You just. I think it's a hard one to call. I mean, Liverpool are going to be favourites, rightly so, but they can't go into that thinking, well, we've beaten them twice this year, we're going to win this, because Tottenham could give them a bloody nose.
Yeah. If Harry Kane starts, Steve, will Lucas Moura be the odd man out?
It will be tough on him, but I think he'd pick Son to play alongside him, not Moura. But he could bring him on. Yeah. It would be. I would be surprised if Harry Kane could last 90 minutes having not played, because again, it's all very well sort of just getting yourself fit, but he hasn't played a match for more than a couple of months. So this is going to be the problem for both teams. There is a danger it could start very slow because they just don't have that break, sharpness. Yeah.
All right, now Steve, I've got to ask you your prediction.
I'm going to go for Liverpool 2-1.
Another 2-1 prediction.
Apologies to Paul if he's listening somewhere in Madrid, but I'm going to go for Liverpool. But you just don't know. I just hope it's. As a neutral, I just want it to be a really good game.
Yeah, I saw 7-1 Liverpool to get a penalty. I may have a few rand on that. And if you had to have a few rand on a goal scorer, Tottenham, Liverpool either side.
I think my first would be Sadio Mane. I think that he's just got an eye for a goal, and if he gets put in, doesn't choke, then he can do it. But you just have to say it's Tottenham. If Kane plays, Son obviously Liverpool, we know, got sort of Salah and Mane. Anyway, I mean, they've got so many players that can score Liverpool. It's you just want it to live up to the
hype,
to the hype, and for the world to see, that deservedly, we've got England have got two teams in the final.
No, you're right. Talking about England, Steve, are you going to watch the South Africa-England cricket game today?
I'm not today, but I will be keeping an eye on it and sort of watch the highlights later. It was it's pretty tough to get tickets. I tried in the ballot for that game, but didn't get it. Although I will be actually I'm a guest in a box to see South Africa-Pakistan at Lords in a few weeks.
Okay, well let's
so not today, but I will be. I'll be cheering on the Saffers in a few weeks.
Well, let's hope you get good weather. How's the weather been there?
It's as of today, as of tomorrow, we're in for a little heat wave. They're talking about temperatures in London over the weekend, anything between 25 and 30. So hopefully we can avoid any rain today. But I think the next week 10 days is really set fair.
All right, Steve. Steve, thanks very much for your help, and we'll speak to you next week.
Talk to you next week.
Take care. All the best.
Bye.
Yeah, that's Stevie Brom in our UK studio. We'll start off with the Champions League. We've got the betting up. Once the slide comes up, Liverpool are 9-10. Spurs were just over 3-1. If I was going to back Spurs, I would take 15-10 Tottenham to win outright. Yeah, these are 90-minute odds. 9-10 Liverpool. For me, Tottenham have only beaten Liverpool once in 14 games. I looked at Liverpool this year. Defensively, they're outstanding. And if I am going to have a bet, and it'll come up later, you'll see I took 15-2 a goal scorer. I've gone for Virgil van Dijk to any-time goal scorer. I agree with Steve. Sadio Mane looks a likely goal scorer for Liverpool anytime. I wouldn't be taking the first goal scorer, but I hope it's a cracker. I just have my doubts. A 3-week delay won't suit either of the teams. But I just hope Paul has a good, nice enjoyment watching the game. We now go on to the promotion relegation, and as mentioned earlier in the show, Maritzburg United have qualified. There was no betting this morning. I would be very wary about having a bet in this game, purely because I'd expect Eric Tinkler to play all the players that haven't played in the playoffs. So there's no betting. If I was going to have an interest, it would be Shakuma Matsi win and draw, but just be very careful. It's in all our exotics. But that would be one of the few games that I avoid this weekend. We're going to continue, obviously, out of season with the Swedish, the American MLS, and obviously the Brazilian Serie A. So here are the games for the Swedish Allsvenskan this weekend. Our first game is IFK Gothenburg against Örebro. To me, IFK Gothenburg are good things. They're unbeaten in the last 8, and they should be too good for an Örebro team that has struggled away from home and got beat at home 2-0 on Monday by Sirius. Now, Sirius are at home against Djurgårdens. Djurgårdens have won their last 3 league outings, and I think they'll be too good for Sirius. Falkenberg are struggling. They haven't won in their last 10 games, and they face a Kalmar team that, while they've only won 1 of the last 7, they've been very hard to beat. So Kalmar in the draw for me. Östersunds, I think, are good things. They've been beaten by a few good teams lately, while GIF Sundsvall have lost their last 4 games away from home. So 11-10, Östersunds for me. Onto the second page, we've got ARK Stockholm, the league champions. They're unbeaten in their last 26 home games and have won their last 4. I think they'll be too good for a Hammarby team who have won 4 of their last 5, but have struggled away from home, winning only 1 of their last 6. Now, Elfsborg against Häcken. Häcken play in the Swedish Cup on Thursday night. They're the better team of the two, but because they've got the final to contend with, I'm going Elfsborg in a draw in that particular fixture. Eskilstuna face Häcken in that Swedish Cup final. And even if they didn't play them on Thursday night, I think Norrköping, who've been in good form, I think they'll be too good for Eskilstuna. Our last game is Helsingborg, who have been struggling. They haven't won in the last 8 league games, and they take on the favourites Malmö. Malmö have won 8 and drawn 2 of the last 10 league games, and I think they'll be too good for Helsingborg on Sunday. On to the MLS. where Montreal, who are coached by the former Arsenal midfielder Remy Gard, they won last night, and I think they'll continue the winning streak against an Orlando City team who have only won 1 of their last 6 games and have lost 3 of the last 4 away from home. Atlanta United are the champions. They won last night comfortably, beating Minnesota 3-0, and I think they'll be too good for a Chicago Fire team who haven't won away from home in ages, and they've lost 3 of their last 4 away from home. The New York Red Bulls, I think, are good things. I took 15-10 the New York Red Bulls to win by more than 1 goal. Their opponents, Real Salt Lake, while being in good form at home, they've lost 4 of the last 6 away from home. So New York Red Bulls for me. Now, Columbus Crew are struggling. They've lost 8 of their last 9 league games, while New York City are unbeaten in 6, and they've won 3 of the last 5 away from home. I think the betting's wrong. 19-10 New York City is my best value bet for the weekend. The next page, you go on to Dallas. Dallas and Seattle. Both teams are struggling. 24-10 looks the best bet, but if I had to side for a team, Dallas don't get beat at home too often. So Dallas in the draw for me in that particular game. DC United under Wayne Rooney. They drew 3-3 last night with Chicago Fire. They drew 1-1 the previous week against New England Resolution, and defensively they look a bit suspect. Fortunately, they play a San Jose team who have only won 1 of the last 6 away from home. So it's a chance for Wayne Rooney and co. to cement their league status as the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference. Now, Colorado and Cincinnati. Colorado are bottom of the Western Conference, where Cincinnati are bottom of the Eastern Conference. Colorado drew 1-1 at Philadelphia last night. So in a tale of 2 bad teams, I've got to side with Colorado, especially as Cincinnati have lost their last 5 games away from home. Houston are in great form. They've won 6 of the last 7 at home, and I think they'll be too good for a Sporting Kansas City team who've won 1 of their last 9 and haven't won in the last 5 away from home. The last sheet, we've got Portland, who surprisingly haven't played a game at home this season. Their stadium was revamped, and they opened it against the current favourites to win the MLS Championship, Los Angeles. I saw the highlights of Portland last week. They beat Philadelphia 3-1. And while 12-10 Los Angeles, has me interested, I think the best bet there will be goals. Both teams to score at 5-10. I think it was 6-10, over 2.5 goals is my play. If I had to go for a bet, I would side with Los Angeles. Adrian Heath, the former Evertonian, he controls the purse strings and the selection of Minnesota, who, watching last week, were very fortunate to win 1-0. Philadelphia have hit the brick wall of late, so in a game of 2 struggling teams, I think the draw's a player. Now, LA Galaxy, who have Zlatan Ibrahimovic as their main striker, won 2-0 at home on Wednesday, and I think they'll be too good for for New England on Monday morning our time. 5-10 LA Galaxy. It was 12-10 LA Galaxy to win by more than 1 goal. So that's my play in the MLS this weekend. On to our soccer exotics for the weekend. Soccer 6, I've gone 3 bankers and 3 fields. I've gone the field in the Maritzburg United Shakuma Mudzi game. I've bankered IFK Gothenburg to beat Orebro. I've sided with Djurgårdens to win at Sirius. I've gone the field in the Falkenberg Kalmar game. I've bankered Östersunds to beat GIF Sundsvall, and I've put the field in the Tottenham Liverpool game, 162. Our second soccer 6, I've gone Liverpool win and draw against Tottenham. I've gone the Montreal Impact win and draw at home against Orlando City. I've bankered the New York Red Bulls to beat Real Salt Lake. I've gone New York City win and draw at Columbus Crew. I've sided with Dallas win and draw at home against the Seattle Sounders. And I've gone win and draw Colorado Rapids against Cincinnati in the bottom cellar fixture. Our soccer 10, I've gone the field with Maritzburg United against Shakuma Mudzi. I've gone Halmstad win and draw at home against Vosteris. I've bankered IFK Gothenburg to beat Orebro. I've gone for Djurgårdens to win at Sirius. I've gone the field in the Mjalby Jönköping Sodra game. To the second page, I've gone Norby to beat Dalkurd. I've gone Pirana in the Brazilian Serie B game, win and draw at home against Usta. I've gone Kalmar, win and draw at Falkenberg. I've banked at Ostersons to beat GIF Sundsvall, and I've gone Liverpool, win and draw against Tottenham. On to the Soccer 13. I've gone Liverpool, win and draw against Tottenham. I've banked at IFK Gothenburg to beat Örebro. I've gone Djurgårdens to win at Sirius. I've gone Kalmar, win and draw at Falkenberg. I've banked at Ostersons to beat GIF Sundsvall. I've gone Degerfors, win and draw at home against RK Frej. I've gone Halmstad, win and draw at home against Vasteris. Second page, I've gone the field in the Mjolby Young Kopping Sodra match. I've gone Norby, win and draw at home against Dalkurd. I've banked Norrköping to beat Eskilstuna. I've gone ARK Stockholm to beat Hammarby. I've gone Elfsborg, win and draw at home against BK Häcken. And I've banked Malmo to beat Helsingborg. That's 326 Rand. My best, onto our budgies bets. I've gone Virgil van Dijk and an anytime goal scorer. What I found strange is I tried to get two different bets into the Champions League, and no bookmaker I've spoken to would accept the bet. So sadly, I've had to nail my colours to the mast, and I think Virgil van Dijk will score from a set piece against Spurs. 1,500 to 200 was the bet. Onto our Swedish quad. I've gone ARK Stockholm to beat Hammarby. I've gone Norrköping to beat Eskilstuna. I've gone Ostersons to beat GIF Sundsvall. And I've gone IFK Gothenburg to beat Örebro, and over 2.5 total goals in that match. 2,500 to 200. Our MLS quartet, I've gone Houston to beat Sporting Kansas City. I've gone Atlanta to beat Chicago, and over 2.5 goals in both of those games. Then I've gone the New York Red Bulls and LA Galaxy to win by more than 1 goal. The New York Red Bulls against Real Salt Lake and LA Galaxy against New England. Both teams to score bet, I've gone for Liverpool Tottenham, Elfsborg Häcken, Falkenberg Kalmar, Minnesota Philadelphia, and Portland Los Angeles, 2,500 to 200. Our first bet to the Brazilian Serie A, I'm going with Bahia to beat Grêmio. I'm going Internacional to beat Avaí. And I'm going Flamengo to beat Fortaleza and Atlético Mineiro to beat CSA by more than 1 goal. 14 to 1, so 2,800 to 200 was our play. And our Collis King 6 or Nixa, I've gone IFK Gothenburg to beat Örebro. I've gone Ostersons to beat GIF Sundsvall. I've gone Atlanta to beat Chicago. I've gone LA Galaxy to beat New England. I've gone the New York Red Bulls to beat Real Salt Lake. And I've gone Internacional to beat Avaí. 3,100 to 200. My best bet of the weekend, I've gone back to the Swedish Allsvenskan. I've gone ARK Stockholm to beat Hammarby. 11 to 10 was the latest odds that we get, so that was my play. And my best value bet was 19 to 10, New York City. Just can't believe, I think they've got the odds the wrong way around, so 19 to 10 is our play. Thank you for watching another Onside SA Soccer Show, and let's hope the Champions League is a great final, and let's hope Paul comes back in a good mood. Thank you very much.